May I invite each one to be still for a moment, becoming aware of the presence of God among us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest commandment. The second is like this: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. The whole law and prophets depend on these two great commandments. Good and gracious God, who loves and delights in all peoples, we stand in awe before you, knowing that the spark of life within each person is the spark of your divine life. Differences among cultures and races are multicolored manifestations of your life. May our hearts and minds be open to celebrate similarities and differences among our sisters and brothers. Please send your healing and reconciling spirit in order to bind the wounds created by racism and racial hatred, and to promote understanding, justice, and love. We place our hopes for racial harmony in our committed action and in your living presence in our neighbors.
Dear friends, I am very much privileged to introduce our speaker for today. I'm begging for your understanding if my introduction will take longer than expected, because our speaker is a person of great relevance and importance because of her social engagement and advocacies. She is also a big name in Philippine society and of course in the Philippine church. And newspapers and television footages always portray her as matapang and palaban. Okay? You know what is matapang and palaban? So imagine a tiger and you will have an idea of what it means to be matapang and palaban. This gives me or give me an impression that she is very distant, very unapproachable, and the like. However, when I met her in Ormoc, when I was still a pastoralist and as a visiting prioress, they spent an afternoon of recreation, the entire community in our novitiate house. And there I discovered that Sister Mary Jan Mananzan is very motherly, down-to-earth, gentle, approachable, jolly, and above all, joyful. And I can't forget that conversation with her because she encouraged me in our native language because we come from Pangasinan. So in the first day, our speaker was a Bocolano. It's a Bocolano, now we have a Pangasinense too. We met for the second time at St. Scholastica's College, and she gave me 2 books which I read with delight. And I think it's time that I promote her books. Nonsense. It recounts her journey as a religious, and I'm sure if you are going to read this book, you are not going to waste your time. It's so entertaining and it's so informative also concerning her life. So Sister Mary Jane Mananzan, OSB, entered the Benedictine convent at the age of 20 in May 7, 1957. She made her first solemn profession as a member of the Order of Saint Benedict of Tutsim in 1960. She graduated from St. Scholastica's College with a degree of A.B. Bachelor in Secondary Education, major in History, magna cum laude. She took up graduate studies in Missiology and Systematic Theology at Wilhelms Universität Münster in Germany, magna cum laude, and Ph.D. in Philosophy, major in Linguistic Philosophy at the Gregorian University in Rome, summa cum laude. Not to forget that she had a very close friendship with the great and famous theologian Karl Rahner while doing her studies in Münster and in Rome, and even until his death. President of St. Scholastica's College from 1996 to 2002, she was prioress of the Missionary Benedictine Sisters for 8 years, from 2004 to 2012, and national co-chairperson of AMRSP for 4 years. As a feminist activist, she has given birth to a lot of women-centered programs, among them the Institute of Women's Studies, Women Ecology and Wholeness Farm, and the Women Crisis Center. For 18 years, she was the national chairperson of Gabriela. She is actively involved in developing a distinct Third World theology and was Executive Secretary and Treasurer of the Ecumenical Association of the Third World Theologians, ETWOD. She has written several books, the latest of which, I do not know which is your latest, sister, but according to him, aside from nonsense, there is also non-stop, and I think a lot of none there. Non-talk, okay, so, but she has a very good book also concerning spirituality, which has a title of Women, Religion, and Spirituality in Asia. And she contributed numerous articles to international journals and reviews. She gives lectures and seminars on ecofeminist creation-centered spirituality, women issues, globalization, and transformational education. Lastly, I will never forget her inspiring answer when she was interviewed on the occasion of the Golden Jubilee of her religious profession. One of the questions asked was, what made you reach 50 years? And being a philosopher, she put the question in right order. She says, it's not a question of what made me reach 50 years of religious profession, but the real question is, why after 50 years, I am still here, still a religious. And she continues, I remain as a religious because religious life still makes sense. And religious life still has something new to offer to the world and to the church. And I'm sure she will tell us more about it today as she will talk about the practice of synodality in consecrated life. My dear friends, with applause, let us warmly welcome Sister Mary Jane Mananzan, OSB.
Good morning again, brothers and sisters. You know, for the longest time, I've never been to this seminar face-to-face because, as you know, there was this pandemic. So this is the first time, I think, although I do a lot of webinars. So. And also that it's very seldom that I have as an audience all religious men and women. No? So it is a special kind of event for me. Okay, this is an assignment to me, synodality and different religions. But actually, when I was looking at that Dominican PowerPoint, I would just say, just put Benedict in there and pareho na lang kami. I'm sorry. I'm talking Tagalog, but we do not know Tagalog. Okay, so I will focus my talk on singularity and being religious. I'm sorry that there are many religious here, but maybe you can just make that transposition. Okay, of course this is already known to you, but I'll just make it summary so that there is a continuity of thought. So the Synod of Solidarity is, as you know, is actually 3 years already, because they have already added 1 year, no? Process, and which is really a time of listening and dialogue, beginning with the solemn opening, as you know, in Rome. And of course, I will not talk so much about it because you know already it began as a listening process in 2021 and all the local churches. And I'm very happy to tell you that the two women theologians, lay, who actually summarized the result of all the dialogue that happened in the Philippines, I got to let them guest in my show. By the way, Gilbert did the same, but I have a TV show. It's called Nonsense Makes Sense. And it is, you can hear it, and it is aired every Thursday at 7:30 in the evening. It's also at 10:30, but who looks at TV at 10:30 in the morning? So it's at 7:30 in the evening every Thursday. That is something that you might like to see, okay? And this Continental Synod, I mean to say, was presented to us, and I'll tell you, the first thing that woman theologian told me, one sad result that they got is that most poor people in the Philippines feel they do not belong to the church. Isn't that sad? We are always saying, we are the church of the poor, but the poor are not with us. Well, that is the same thing that we encountered in the theology of liberation. You know, I am one of the pioneers of that. And I said, we, theologians of liberation, we are saying we are with the poor, but the poor do not understand our theology. No? So there is this irony of it. Okay. Now I will just go straight to my talk, because I will focus on synodality and consecrated life of religious women. And of course, because I cannot talk about all congregations, I will focus on my own congregation. I belong to the Missionary Benedictine Sisters of Tutzing. But actually our mother house is in Germany, and of course our general is in Rome. But I'm talking about the Manila Priory. Among the groups of the church, really, religious life exhibit most of the essential elements of synodality. As you know, there is communion, participation, mission. These are the three aspects of synodality, no? Communion, participation, and mission. And this communion, participation, and mission, if you will examine your own congregation, you will see that you are really living these three: communion, participation, and mission. Our founder is a monk of Boiron. His name is Andreas Amray. And you know, what happened to the Benedictines was that they all became contemplatives. No? But Father Andreas Amray recalled that the Benedictines in the first centuries were not called contemplatives. There is Saint Bernard, who is the missionary of Europe. So, and actually the Benedictines were the ones who converted England and Europe. So he said, our first charisma was not really contemplative, but missionary. But missionary and monastic. So Father Andreas Amray said, I want to found a congregation that combines both monastic and missionary, and that's why we are called missionary Benedictines. No? And he put this we describe this in what we call the 7 fundamental thoughts of Father Andreas Amrei, and that is where he explained what is to be both monastic and missionary. And as you all know, our motto as Benedictine is Ora et Labora. That is, all our graduates of Benedictine School, St. Scholastica's College, if you ask them anything about Benedictines, then they will tell you Ora et Labora. So that is something that is ingrained in all our Benedictine students. No? So, what are these synodal elements of religious life? Now, the first one is community life. I know that after the Vatican II, some of religious congregations, they actually made certain changes that then all of a sudden you can see some sisters are in a condominium. One is having an apostolate by herself, living by herself. You all know that there are religious congregations that allow that. But we missionary Benedictines, we always said, no, we have to be always in community. And we should be at least 4 sisters. Now, sometimes for emergency purposes, we have 3 sisters, but our ideal is at least minimum 4 sisters so that we can have our community life. So that is the first synodal element of the religious life, community life. No? In our congregation, this means prayer in common. Now again, there are certain religious congregations that can pray by themselves. For example, the Jesuits, they do not have community prayer except the lecture that what we call it, the examination of conscience. I think at noon, that is the only time that they are together, but they do not pray in common. But we Benedictines, we really focus our attention, and it's a very important part of our community life, our community prayer. So in my organ, for example, we get up at 4:50, and then we have our Lauds. And after our Lauds, we have Holy Mass, and then we have midday prayer, and then we work again and we have Vespers, and then we have 1 hour called Lectio Divina. So that is meditative reading of the Bible or just contemplation. And then of course at the end of the day, complain. In all our houses, all over the world, and of course in the whole of the Philippines, this is an essential part of our life. Life in community prayer. That is a very synodal element. And of course, conventual Mass. We do not just go to Mass anywhere, but we have a conventual Mass. Of course now, they text me at 6:30, so I couldn't go to our 7 o'clock Mass, but you have 11 o'clock Mass here, so I will go to Mass with you. And we have common meals. We do not have our meals individually, so we insist on common meals. You know, having a meal together is a very important social, what do you call this, exercise. I don't know if you have seen that film that showed how very important a common meal is. No? Because that is where, like the Last Supper, that was a common meal. No? So we insist in having our common meals. Breakfast, well, even if we say breakfast is in silence, we have breakfast in silence, but we are together. Now, noon meal is free meal because we are in school. So you do not know when one is free or not. Also, for our midday meal, then we can have what we call individual meals. But supper also, we are together, and we usually have reading. We have a table reading for about 15 minutes before we have our meals. So actual living in community, not apartheid, as I said, with a superior. Of course, some others now, that is, they do not call them anymore a superior, but with us it's still like that. And we have to have one in each community. And then, of course, other community practice, like what the Dominican Father said. We have, of course, our community assemblies. We talk, this is a very important contribution of the religious life, maybe to all the lay people, that we do not do dictatorial decisions, we do common decisions. And that's why, usually in my community, we have it every Thursday, and we talk about every issue, whatever issues come out in school or in the convent. We try to have a common understanding of it, even if we have to, really be very forceful about our opinions, and we allow that. That's a part of communal discernment too. It's not as if, okay, the superior says it's okay. No, you have to say what you really want to say. Otherwise, you are not contributing to the whole process of discernment. So whatever you want to say, you have to say it, and also without watering down anything. No? And we have chapters of renewal. We have chapters of renewal 4 times a year. What does that mean? What we do is, there's of course a ritual about that, but that is where we try to say, in my community now, for example, I will say, I am sorry that I'm always late, or I'm often late, and then I say, I'm sorry I asked you. So it's something like this, no? Before we used to call it culpa. I don't know if ever heard of that, but we used to have a common culpa. So with us now, we say it like this. Whatever it is that in community life, we see that we are failing, then we say it to the community and say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and I hope we will help you to be better and so forth. No? So that is 4 times a year. And I already said, every prioress is a priory council, 4. And every superior has a community council. And even in our schools, I remember when I was president, I had a president council, and when I was dean, I had a council of deans. And that is a very, I don't know with you, but for me it's a very good setup, because if you have 5 people thinking about one issue, that is richer than if you are the only one. Okay, it's very rich, but it is also sometimes you have to really be consequent. For example, when I was dean of college, and I had a council, and there was a woman who was applying for being a teacher, and some people knew that she was living in with somebody who was not, she was not married to. Okay, so we were discussing that, and me, I was thinking maybe I can say that that would not make it impossible for her to become a teacher and all that. But my 4 lay people said, no, we're a Catholic school, and therefore that we cannot allow a person who is, I don't like this word, living in sin. I said, who are you to judge that she is living in sin? Maybe you can say that she is living, maybe not according to the rule of the church, but you can never say living in sin. Who are you to judge living in sin? But anyway, they said that this is where Catholic school, maybe it's not a good example that we have a teacher like that. And of course, I could have said, I am dean of college, so I really want to decide. No, because then they would say, oh, you say you have a communal decision, and then you will be the one to decide. So I have to choose between, really, do I believe in communal decision, or I am making it only a show? So I have to tell that teacher, that candidate, I'm sorry, but my council said that we cannot accept you. So anyway, that is the thing that you have to give up your own opinion if you really believe in communal decision. So these are the examples of our communal life. That is our common prayer and common conventual mass, etc. Our living together. We have recreation together, we have fun together, we are also having, how do you call this, exercise sometimes together, but not all the time. Because some people do not want to exercise. Now, communion. So I talked already about how we are living in communion with one another in our prayer and in all our decision making. We participate, as I said, in all the decision making, etc. Now, common mission, this is about our apostolate. All of you have your apostolate. Now, as I said, there are some congregations now who do not have the common apostolate anymore. Each one can work in different places. But in our congregation, we still insist in a institutional apostolate. That means that my community are involved in one apostolate, even if some of our sisters they go to other what they call individual participation. But as a community, we have a common apostolate. And we have schools. We have actually 10 schools in the Philippines. We have two of which are college level. And of course, we have what we call immersion community in Mindanao. And all the rest are private house and the V-shape, etc. We also have 2 hospitals, health apostolate. And our social apostolate among the poor, among the cultural minorities, exposure communities in Mindanao. And again, as I said, we have communal decision making, as president, administrative council, etc., etc. And you know what I notice here is that it can be really like just an appearance. But I'm saying that if you really want to have a communal decision, you have to be transparent. If you are the superior or you are the director, you have to give all information. You cannot just say, okay, I will give 1/2 of the information. If you give only 1/2 of the information, you cannot expect a real decision making. So there must be really total transparency. All the information needed for the decision must be given to all the people who will decide. So that is why we have our apostolates. We are also, like as you see that I am, as already Gilbert said, that I am very much involved in political issues. So there I am here, marching with people about many issues. And then I don't know if you know, we have 1 billion rising. Every February 14, there is a dance. It's a beautiful dance, no? Actually the purpose of this is against violence against women all over the world. There are 272 countries that are dancing this every February 14. Now, of course, some are groups. As you will see in this picture, we have on February 14, we really ask all our students, like these are about 3,000 people, and we dance that beautiful 1 billion rising. It's a communal participation and active participation for the struggle against violence against women. Okay? And then we have what we call benefits for peace. You know, as you know, in the history, there was a time when there was war in the whole of Europe. There were warring tribes. Now, when the Benedictines came into Europe, they started to have farms. They transformed the swamps into farms, and then it's like a communal farm living. And then the warring tribes saw it's much better for them to really follow the example of the Benedictines in putting up farms rather than killing each other. So that is why there came a peace all over Europe, and it's called Pax Benedictina, Benedictine peace. No? And we are following that tradition, and that's why we have what we call Benedictines for peace. And as you see, ora and labora. So we are not only common in our prayer, but common in our work. We have in Mendes, we have the women ecology wholeness farm. You know, so we try to have ecological construction. We have solar, and this is the superior of the community. And what we are doing is implanting the parishes, because now all the parishes are denuded because they use the trees for fuel. So what the whole school is doing, and it said it's superior, but actually every Monday all the administrators and many students, they will go to the swamp and plant trees in the swamp. So these are our social concerns. All of us are having this. Okay. So we have these are our concerns. Of course, the most important concern in the Philippines and I'm sure in Asia is poverty and hunger. This is something that we share with all our communities, that we have to be concerned about perennial poverty and hunger. And of course, there was the global pandemic, and we had tried to do, so we did also community pantry, as you know. That is a brainstorming of a 29-year-old girl, you know, that really spread throughout the whole Philippines, and I think in East Timor, to have the community pantry, where people would come, and on one part of the table, they can put everything that they want to eat, and on another part, people who eat will just get anything without paying anything. That is how most of the hunger in the Philippines during the pandemic was solved, no? And of course, we have the local and international conflicts now, Ukraine, etc. But in the Philippines, there are perennial conflicts in the Muslim part of our country, in the south. And so that is where also the peacemaking is important. And of course, there are the important issue of migration. 10 million Filipinos are out of the country, all over the world, no? And right now, I know that in some of the countries, Filipino migrant workers are not only exploited, but are even objects of real oppression. For example, now I am helping a woman who was in United Arab Emirates. She became a nanny family, and when she was trying to, well, she's a nanny of a little boy with disability. But one day, the father came, and when she saw that they were alone, he wanted to rape her, no? So he got a knife and was really going to rape her, but she struggled. But unfortunately, in the struggle, they fell down together, and what do you call that? The knife pierced the guy, so he died. So she was convicted of murder, and she was put on death row. And she was there on death row, but the Grant International, I am part of that, and also Misho Aken, they tried to help her, no? And after 3 years, she was able to be acquitted, and now she is in Cebu. I visited her last week, and now I'm trying to help her put up a little boutique, or what you call ukay-ukay, a better kind of ukay-ukay. I send her slightly made dresses so that she can sell it. So we are trying to put up a fund so that we can help all these migrant women workers who have to leave the country because of some cause or the other. But when they come back to the Philippines, they do not have means of livelihood. No? And then you have the various form of injustice: economic, political, social, and cultural. I don't know if you know that right now in the Philippines there is what we call red tagging. Every time you do something that is critical of the government, then you are considered communist, you know. And I have been red tagged, by the way, and I had to explain to the Senate what I am doing. And for me, it was very simple. I said, why is it that I am in rallies and why I am in a picket line? I said, very simple. Jesus had an option for the poor. I am a follower of Jesus. Therefore, I should also have an option for the poor. And if the poor are oppressed and exploited, my option for the poor should not be just in words, but I have to be with them in the picket line, in the rally, in demonstration, etc. That is why I am a political activist, and I'm proud of it, you know. And I said, if you tell me that they are putting me in the lines of the red, you know, the people they put as red, that they are the most, generous people, intelligent, with integrity, with a great love for the country. But because they say something about, for example, the kill, the extrajudicial killings, and what they're called, they are supposed to be communists. You know, that just for me a puzzle. Anything that is good, even the community country, they said it is from the communists. I said, the communists must be very good. They are the only ones doing good for the country. I would expect if they say, oh, she's defending human rights, she's putting up community country, she must be a Christian. Ah, no. She must be a communist. Isn't that ironic? No? They said to say she's Christian, communist. So I said, do you know who is the promoter of communism in the Philippines? The government. Why? Because anything that is good, they will say it's communist. Then they are promoting communism, isn't it? So that is the lack of logic in our governance here. Okay. And then of course racism. You think that the Filipinos are not racist? Yes, we are. In the sense, you know, sometimes I am surprised because like we had the formation staff, no? And then we had the Chinese postulant. And then when I was and I said, where are the postulants? He said, well, you incheck, you know, the Chinese went to this. I said, why do you call her the Chinese? She has a name, Imelda. You say Imelda is like this. Why do you say the Chinese? You know, it sounds worse in Filipino when you say, yung incheck na punta sa ganito. I was really so angry. I said, you are a formator. How can you be so racist? You know? So, sometimes it is unconscious racism. Before also, I'm sorry to say, you have Indians here, but before, everybody is Bombay. What? If you are an Indian-looking person, you are Bombay, you know? And sometimes they have jokes about Bombay, you know? I thought the Filipinos are not racist. You know, we are racist, I'm sorry to say. Now, we have to atone for that, okay? And then, of course, violence and persecution, the AJK, the increasing inequalities, economic and gender inequality. And you know, there is a new struggle now, and I hope you are aware of that. I don't know what it is in your country, but in the Philippines, the new struggle now is against OSA. What is OSA? That is online sexual abuse and exploitation of children. What does that mean? That means that there is this television, and the customer is from Japan, from Germany, from Australia, and who are the victims? Children in the family. And we know who are the victims? The parents, unfortunately. And mostly the mother, because the father is somewhere else. So what happens is that the customer in Australia will say, okay, you do this to your child. Imagine, to make the mother do sexual things to the child. Or get your 7-year-old son and the 5-year-old daughter, and they make them do sexual acts together. How can these people, this is a great trauma for the children. So we have now an organization called CG Philippines, Cyber Guardian Philippines, no? So you have to be very watchful now about cyber bullying, cyber crimes, and all these cyber things. Now, cyber can be used for the good, for the propagation of our faith, etc. But you must realize it can also be used for terrible things like OSA. And we have to have what we call a whole nation approach. It is a communal, it is a synodal struggle to go against the OSA, no? And we have to all be conscientized about that. So there are just examples, you know, the hunger, and this is a picture of the EJK, the extrajudicial killings, no? And of course the farmers now, you know, some farmers have committed suicide now because their onion farms have not harvested anything, and they are all in debt, and they do not know how to continue with the life supporting their families. And this is from my through my town. Bayambang, Pangasinan is my town, and I saw in the newspaper that 5 of the farmers committed suicide, onion farmers. No? This is a really terrible thing. So, in all these cases, we do communion, participation, mission. Okay. Now, what are these common organizations? We have the Movement Against Tyranny. It's called MAT. And then there is the Gabriela Filipina Women's Rights and Empowerment. There is the Migrante International, which is for the migrants. There is the Greenpeace Movement for Ecology. We have the Katutubo, that is struggle for indigenous people. We have the Cyber Guardian Philippines against OSA. And we have another one called Baigani, which is to help the relatives of those who are victims of extrajudicial killing. Because they have no more, how do you call this, bread earners. We have to teach the women how to do some cooking or some kind of fundraising activities. So this is communion and participation with mission partners. This is the Movement Against Tyranny. And these are our international community. And our general chapter and our private chapter made this, how do you call this, our theme in our last chapter. We are different yet one. So that is our motto. And that is our family theme. And as conclusion, I would like to, we have adopted our Saint Scholastica's prayer for synodality, and it goes like this. We stand before you, Holy Spirit, as we gather together in your name. With you alone to guide us, make yourself at home in our hearts. Teach us the way we must go and how we are to pursue it. We are weak and sinful. Do not let us promote disorder. Do not let ignorance lead us down the wrong path, nor partiality influence our actions. Let us find in you our unity, so that we may journey together to eternal life and not stray from the way of truth and what's right. All this we ask of you who are at work in every place and time, in the communion of the Father and the Son, and forever and ever. Amen. And I would like to share with you my prayer. You know, I'm 85 years old. I don't look it now. But anyway, I think I have exceeded the bounds of the Holy Scripture, because the Bible said, I'm 80 if you are strong. I'm 5 years older. So, I would like to add, my prayer every morning says, thank you, God, for this beautiful day. Thank you, God, that I'm still alive and relatively healthy in this beautiful day. So, dear God, please help me to live this day and every day of my life, but especially just this day, to live with mindfulness and full consciousness, with compassion and joy. And when my time comes that I have to go, please hold my hand and I will follow you. Amen. Thank you all. Is there a question and answer? Yes, sister, you will have a long time for that. Okay.
For you, and you can answer. How can we invite the poor to feel more engaged with the church?
Okay. Hindi ako kasi expert dyan, no? But I think that's matter. Kasi parang, ewan ko sa inyo, kami mga mother kasi, wala kami masyadong immersion sa parish. Especially kung we have schools, ganyan. Like for example, sa parish natin sa Singalo, wala kami masyadong immersion, kasi we are so engaged in our apostolate. But siguro we need to really go and talk with the poor. I mean, that's the only way. I mean, as I always tell my students, it's is different if you hear about the sufferings of the poor. It is different if you have to have a skin-to-skin experience of the poor. So sa akin, there is only one way. Be with the poor. Go to them. Talk with them. Make friends with them. And then maybe you can invite them once in a while if there is something happening in the parish. So that is the only way, I think. The only effective way is to be with them, to talk with them, to listen to their stories. And maybe one time when you have, meron ganitong mangyayari sa parish, can I invite you there? Sa akin, that is the only way ko.
As we are reflecting on synodality as the way to live deeply our consecrated life, in particular in the synodal environment of consecrated life, the social media is absorbing our time and energy, feeding in individualism, isolation, and independence, where community life is becoming casual, prayer life shortened, ignored, and relationships are on the decrease. Lack of interest in the mission. What will be the future of an authentic religious community living?
What I would say is that actually media is neutral. You can use it for the good or for the bad. Unfortunately now, the negative effects of media is the one that prevails. But actually we can use media for our apostolate, no? And of course, you have to have discipline. I know that kasi we can be addicts. Especially ngayon, I just discovered Korean drama. And I am absolutely honest to say, you are prone to be addicted to it. So that's why we have to have self-discipline, no? Do not shorten your community prayers by goodness for media. No, never. And for me, one thing that is that it should not encroach into your community activities. So much discipline we should have. Not only individual discipline, but community discipline. What is your superior doing? If she's allowing you to shorten your community prayer, no? So for me, one word is important in this whole matter: discipline. And not only that, let us transform the media from something negative to something very positive. Even if you have FB or Facebook, it depends upon what are you putting in your Facebook. What kind of blog do you put? You can put beautiful, inspiring blog. Sometimes when I put something inspiring, so many people come and they like, I like what you put there, or thank you very much. So you can really use it. I have FB, I have WhatsApp, I have Instagram, I have Signal, and that ko. But really, every time I put something, and really anything that inspiring that I experience, I put it there. And I tell you, so many people put like, and or they put back something. Now there is what you call real. You put together all pictures, no? I just got a note. You have reached the maximum 377 galillion. You can make another reel, so okay. My short answer there is for us to use the media. Well, we should really think of positive things that you put in the media. Secondly, in order that it will not encroach into your prayer life, into community life, practice discipline.
Questions? More questions for sister?
Don't be shy. It's good that you are, although I go to 85, my ears are 85, so sometimes I can't hear very well, so it's better to write it. You talk of health school and hospital ministries, are these ministries self-sustaining? Are the ministries geared towards helping the poor or for both the able and the vulnerable? How do you manage in terms of personnel? How are your numbers in those joining as candidates? Can you share of some of the new techniques we can use for vocation promotion program experience? Oh my God, if I will answer all this one book na yan, it will take the whole time. But I will try to answer. We have 2 hospitals, you know, to answer whether they are self-sustaining. One hospital, we started in 30 years ago, it's not our hospital. Actually, the SBDs in Tacloban have a medical course on the medicine. But of course, nag-close na yung kanilang university kasi nag-strike ang mga teachers. No? But during the time that they had medicine, they needed a hospital, siyempre. So they invited us. So kami, we are the ones who built the hospital and we have been administering the hospital from the very beginning. They had absolutely nothing to do with it except that they paid for the building of the hospital. Now, I must say that this hospital that is already 30 years, it is doing well. And in fact, during the Yolanda typhoon, all the relief services from all over the world was centered in our Divine Word Hospital because we were the only standing hospital. I must say this hospital is self-sustaining now. But we have another hospital. Our hospital in Northern Samar, that is in Barangay Cubatuan, Pambuhan, Northern Samar, is a 4th-class municipality. And I must tell you, if it were a commercial enterprise, I would have closed it because it is not self-sustaining. In fact, we are subsidizing it 3 million a year. Why? Because they are very poor. I remember the first, our sister who was the first hospital administrator, when she, because I was private when that was put up, no? But I must tell you that although it is not self-sustaining, its foundation was a miracle. So I wrote an article in the hospital that miracles built. Because when the bishop asked me to put up a hospital, I know nothing about hospitals. So I'm totally ignorant of that. But because the bishop wrote to me, I said, I asked, we had a prayer discernment and people said, okay, let's try. I wrote Rome and they said, well, we were looking for a lab. And a Chinese said, okay, you can have 1,000 per square meter. What? I said, is this Forbes Park? Or is it so expensive? So then when I sent 3 sisters there, because we wanted to have a community-based health care. But since we have no convent, they rented a house. Now, Dylan JD had a friend who used to be from there, but now is in Chicago. During the birthday of this friend, this landlady said, "Oy, Mila, you know there are 3 sisters that are looking for a place for the hospital, but it's very expensive." You know what that woman said? Her name is I cannot remember now. 85 years old. So I know. Rosalina Salazar. You see, I became 35 years old, so I remember. So, he said, Rosalina Salazar. You know what she said? Hindi ba, I have a land there in Pambuhan that is, this is in Batangan, that is 35 minutes away. I have a land in Pambuhan. You give half of it, 7 hectares, half of it is 3.5 hectares. She gave us 3.5 hectares, gratis in Amore. Wow, sabi ko, ay salamat naman, meron na tayong lupa. About construction, I have no money for construction. So I asked an architect, will you please design something and give me a quotation for 25 beds, primary hospital. Wow, he came and said, wow, 100 million? Where will I get 100 million? That was the first miracle, he didn't hear the second one. So, I said, where will we get the money? Well, in 2011, it was the 100 years of the International Women's Day. You know, when you march on March 8, even here in the Philippines and all over the world, there is a marching of women for against violence against women. So it is 100 years of that. So in New York, there was an organization called Women Deliver, and because it's 100 years, they put up a list of so-called 100 supposedly inspiring people in the world. And Miracle of Miracles, my name is number 56. I was in the it was so, and it went into the Philippine Daily Inquirer. So there is a headline, Pinoy man makes it to the top 100. And you know what? I got a telephone call and says, Sister, can I meet you? My office is in the third floor from Ate. So I went. And she opened the door. She said to me, do you remember me? I said, no. And she said, I was your scholar in 1983. And we were three sisters. She gave one, she took up psychology, the other one hotel restaurant management, and I took up accountancy. Although I really concluded in 1983, but 2011, how can I remember somebody I interviewed in 1983? And then she said to me, do you have a project? Oh yes, I have a project. I said, I am asked you to put up a hospital in Papua, or Saudi, she said, okay, I have a foundation, it's called Hari Foundation. You know what she is? She is now CEO and President of Hyundai Asia. Do you know what? In 2012, we had a groundbreaking for the convent. In 2014, groundbreaking for the hospital. 2016, they gave us the hospital as well. So we had spent a single centavo for the land and for the building of the hospital. Isn't that miracle? But now I thought no more problem. Oh, the problem began. Because the method, those of you who are putting up a hospital or maintaining, the maintaining of a hospital is no joke, I tell you. First of all, nurses and doctors, they do not want to go, they want to go all abroad. Number two, the government put up the salary of the nurses to 30,000 and only paying 16,000. You know? So how do you put up to 30,000? So you are asking me, is it sustainable? No, it's not sustainable. And if as I said, if you were a commercial enterprise, I would have closed it. But no, I'm not closing it because I still believe in miracles. And now I'm going to write an article, the hospitals that miracles maintain. Because it is really, I get donations from everywhere. You know what, I'm only I get small break like that. Oh, when I was in New York, the nurses there told me, she said, let's go to the mass and then you can talk about the hospital. So I said, okay, I go to a New York mass. And then we started 2 minutes. 2 minutes? What did I say 2 minutes? After 2 minutes, we can talk about the hospital. But 2 minutes only, she said. Oh, okay. So when it was my turn, I said, you know, I have only 2 minutes. I'm just telling you. Maintaining a hospital is no joke. But I learned 2 things in maintaining this hospital. One, that miracles do exist. Not for saints, but for ordinary people like us. Number 2, that you have to dream and dream big. Because if your dream is worthwhile, fulfilling, and it's for humanity, all the forces of the universe will align themselves to make your dream come true. And they gave you a standing ovation. But better still, they made the second collection. And you know how much they gave me? $2,000. I said, wow, I never ever before gave a talk where my honorarium is $1,000 a minute. I got $2,000, no? The honorarium is at $1,000. So that's how I am living. And lately, my goodness, it will take me the whole time around. Sorry, I'm not sorry about that. But I'm telling you that we are maintaining the hospital because of generous people coming from everywhere in the world, which we do not know how. But of course, we are still subsidizing it. So, what we get from our Tacloban hospital, also they give us the congregation some subsidy and also the SPB fathers. Instead of using that for anything else, we put that into our Pampuhan hospital. That is how it is being maintained. Okay, that is my answer to your question. How demand in terms of personnel? I told, for personnel, because the nurses want to go there like that. So what we do is, we give scholarship to nurses. We have a school of nursing in Tacloban. So for every year of schooling, they have to render 1 year service in the hospital. So if they have 4 years of schooling, at least we assure of 4 years of their schooling. That is how we have maintained personnel. No? How are your numbers in relation to those joining as candidates? We have only 3 candidates a year. I don't know with you. And you do not even know which of the 3 candidates will reach perpetual profession. And sometimes when they reach perpetual profession, we just had a perpetual professors who left the next month. Can you imagine? We had just one sister also, we let her go to masters. After she finished masters, she left. That is how we are in the government. So we have now at least 3 candidates, no? 3 aspirants. No? Can you share some of the new techniques we can use for vocation promotion from your experience? Oh my goodness, I am not a vocation promoter. We have to invite our vocation promoters. No? But I think the most important vocation promotion is ourselves. Diba? When people meet us and they say, oh, okay naman siya. Siguro naman. So you ask me for technique, don't have a technique, be a vocation promotion, your own person. That's it. Thank you.
This is not a question but a comment of her sister. The church is truly blessed to have you in our generation. You are a gift to women religious as an inspiration to live our consecrated life to the fullest. Thank you for using God-given talents in action.
Thank you.
How do you protect the name of your congregation in terms of their safety while doing active participation in political matters?
That is a good question, no? Do you know that it's not only me? Because our whole school, in 1970, you know, we took to heart. You remember there was the Synod of Bishops in 1970, and they came up with Justice in the World, the document. I tell you, I memorized that. What I memorized in the introduction is this. Work for justice and transformation of the world appear to us as constitutive dimension of preaching the gospel. That is word for word for that. And you know, in our private chapter of 1970, we took that to heart and we said from now on all our social, our apostolates should be socially oriented. And all our school took the hashtag, they call it the hashtag, education for justice and social transformation. And we are doing it up to now. That's why not only the nuns are activists, even our students are considered activists, you know. They are famous for that, our scholasticans. They call them pulasa. The activist scholastics are called pulasa, you know, and many of them, you know, Reza Ontiveros is our graduate. Reza, the first Nobel laureate. The first president, Cory Aquino, is our graduate. No? So, what I'm saying is that I really don't care what is there to protect. I don't care about protecting our name. You know? That's only a name. What is important is what are you doing really for the poor? What are you doing for justice? Because work for justice is constitutive of preaching the gospel. In other words, even if you make great homilies, great sermons, great interpretation of the Bible, etc., if you are not working for justice and transformation, you are not even preaching the gospel. That's what it says. So that's what is important for me. That in all our actions we are preaching justice and we are trying to make our students agents of change. Not only people who will run the government as it is, but that they should run the government and try to change it into what is better. So, transformation of the world. So that is my answer. I do not protect the name of my congregation. And if it is considered, what do you call that, red tag, okay lang. It will not kill us. No? And I'm saying always, Aren't you afraid? Sabi sa akin. Of course I'm afraid, no? But for me, just as cowardice is infectious, courage is also infectious. No? So let's infect the world with courage like the COVID-19. I was right back when we invited Migrant International and called it presumptuous and outright false accusation as I am the religious. When I was a part of Migrant International, I told you that we got that girl out, that woman out of United Arab Emirates. She was in death room. Migrant International is doing very good. And it's Executive Director na is Johanna, who is our graduate, who is scholastic studies, no? So, I'm not really, I'm honored to direct that, by the way. I am not insulted. I am honored. It's like I am in the honor roll. I told the Senate, the Senate gave me 30 minutes to explain why I'm an activist, and I told you what I told them. And I told them really, if they put me in this list of people that are Gandhi, and I look at the biography of these people, they're the most excellent people who are so self-sacrificing and loving the country. I feel that when I am read that and put that, I am putting the honor roll list. Our provincial chapter has legislations on the needs of OFW, but when reality comes in red having some superiors are afraid to go on, what can you recommend to reduce the apostate? I think I have answered that about courage, Just as this is infectious, as I said, even a little bit of courageous action can really motivate other people from doing courageous actions more than what you did. So what I was saying is, are you afraid? Okay lang, be afraid, but act in spite of your fear. That is my injunction. Related to the child sexual abuse, can you please share more about your possibility to deal with that problem? Okay, in your communication and in the church. Okay, my action here is in connection with, as I said, it has just been approved by the SEC, the CGPH, Cyber Guardian Philippines, And what we are saying is that we will have, they elected me as chairperson by the way. And the vice chairperson is Father Teodoro Gonzalez of Ateneo, the one having the public counseling in Ateneo, But our executive director is a very, very dynamic woman. Her name is Chichi Samir. And if you want one day to invite her to give you a briefing at OSB, you can invite her. She will come, In fact, I have invited the whole CWR. The CWR are with us now. The Catholic Women's League, they have 50,000 in the whole Philippines. And Chichi has given them a briefing. The whole Marist congregation, all of Asia is together with us. Our Asian Benedictine, we have a ABS, Association of Benedictine Schools. We are all in this hostel. What is our strategy? There are 3 parts to this strategy. First is prevention. Now, in the prevention, it means education. So we give briefings and seminars to everybody, but mostly in schools, parents, church people. Actually, the CBCP, on women and children are with us now. So the first thing is prevention. That means that you have to tell what is happening. And you have to, how do you call this, connect with the LGU, that means the local government, because this also is happening in the barangay, in the small communities. And because they only use a television to do this, how do you call this, transaction with the foreign customers in Germany, and like that. So, that we have a MOA with Pico Soto, Pasig. Now the whole Pasig city is now with us in combating also in Pasig City. And we are trying, there are 10 hotspots in the Philippines, including Manila, Quezon, Cebu, Pampanga, and not the other 6. But we are zeroing on these 10 hotspots. We are trying to make them mobile with the local government. So we have to educate. Number 2, the counseling. Because I tell you, the children, they are so traumatized. Can you imagine this 5-year-old and this 7-year-old who want to have sex together? Can you imagine how they will relate as brothers and sisters? So you know, we have somebody from the PNP also, Sheila Portento, and she tells us when there is a rape, you know, they will separate the parent, the kids from the children. But the children don't realize that, why are they arresting us, no? Because it's the police, no? And the parents will have to be tried. In Cebu, there were 2 mothers who have been sentenced to 23 years in prison. And then the children are brought to the SWD for counseling, no? Because they need thorough counseling. They need, and not only 1 month, 2 months, this has to be lifetime. Because the trauma is really very deep. No? So that's the second one. The third is reintegration. Now this is very difficult. How can you reintegrate the children if the parents or the kids? So you have to look for the nearest kid who are able to take them in. No? Now that's again very difficult to do. So it's all very difficult to do, but we have to do it. So prevention, and then the counseling itself, and the reintegration. These are the 3 parts of what we try to do to help these Mosaic children.
What qualities should superiors have to have a synodal community? What attitudes should they avoid?
You know what? Maybe the first thing that I would like to be a superior to have is inner security. You know? Because if a superior is insecure, she will not make her sisters bloom because he will be threatened by them. Never ever vote for an insecure superior. Because you are going to have somebody who will not have a real care and compassion. Because she's very insecure, she's always threatened. So she will not even make you bloom because they might they go over me, no? So you would think that I will tell you mga spirituality, etc., okay lang. But sa akin, the most important feature of the superior is inner security, inner freedom. And how can she do that? If she has a real self-awareness and self-acceptance, that is the secret of inner security, which means also inner freedom. And when you have inner freedom, you will not care about whatever they tell you, red tagging that, you do not care. Because if you know yourself, these are mosquitoes. You know, when I am red tag, I said, they're just mosquitoes and langaw, you know? They do not influence me because I know myself. No? And this is a very funny. But when they tell me, Sister Mary, that is stupid. Of course not. I graduated summa cum laude in Gregorian University. How can I be convinced that I'm stupid? No? So, if you know yourself, nothing that anybody can say about you will ever even affect you. No? So what is really important is the superior must have care and compassion and understanding. And by the way, do not also get a superior who is super healthy. No? Because if she's super healthy, she will not understand why God stomach ache. It's better if your superior is a little sickly. Let me know, because I'm already 85 and I know sometimes I cannot get up in the morning. So I tell them, I'm giving you general permission. If you really cannot get up the morning and the bell is ringing, you sleep longer. General permission, you do not have to ask me. No, just tell me later also that I know you are not sick. So, again, that's another thing about superior. Do not go for a too strong superior. Okay, I'm very dogmatic. The most important thing is inner security and inner freedom, so that she has all the generosity to be of care and compassion for her community. What is the sin on asking of religious life? Well, as I told you, there are three aspects: communio, participatio, mission. These are the things that the synod is asking of us. That we really have communion, meaning communion not only with us, with our community, but communion with the local church, with the people around us, with the people that we serve, with our lay partners. Last time I asked my community, let us examine ourselves about our community with our lay partners. Kasi kung minsan, you are, especially a choleric sister, I said, you are getting angry with what do you call this, with argument in front of people. Don't do that. Do not scold anybody in public. You know, we Filipinos, we are very sensitive about that. If you have to scold a person, bring her to your office. Then you can scold that person there. But never scold anybody in public that is taking away their face, their honor, their dignity. You know, something like that. So, communion with all your sisters and with all the people you are working with. And participation, that means to say you are not going to, what do you call that? Avoid your community. You know, I know already something is wrong when a sister begins to withdraw from the community. Hindi siya nagpupunta sa common meal. She's always in the room. That is something very wrong about that sisters. There's something psychologically happening there. So if you are a superior, you have to draw her out and say, what is happening to you? So again, communion, participatio. You have to participate in the mission of your congregation, whatever is happening. For example, even now, there is, for example, we had the WNCAA opening in St. Scholastica. Then if you are not sick or anything, you have to go there and be together with your sisters. Now, when there are certain community, I'm just saying, school activities. And then mission, of course, I have talked about that. You have to have the mission. That is saying you have, and I told you particularly, it has to be a mission for justice and transformation of the world. Okay, we don't out things, no? Because sometimes that's needed. Because people are hungry, etc. But unless it's only all done out what we are doing, we are not really doing work for justice and transformation of the world. That is very basic, our sharing of food and all that. But if we are not really doing something that will change, the minds of people, and we really have a real desire to improve our life as a nation, then we are not really, as the Synod of Bishop said, we are not preaching the gospel. Okay, so that is what the Synod is asking of us as religious. As people of God working together, how are we going to end up solve such poverty, hunger, and possession? Of course, you cannot say the word. I always tell myself, I cannot say the word, but I can do something for the people that enter into my life. Isn't it? And if everybody will help the people that will enter into our life, that's the whole world already. Isn't it? But you cannot really, as a congregation, you cannot solve the whole world. But then, in our vicinity, in our area of responsibility, there are so many things we can do. No? Income generating for the poor, etc. No? Community organizing, etc. And of course, for me, the most important is also forming the conscience. For example, in our community, people that we are working with, I always give them gender orientation, gender consciousness, especially if they are women. No? So So what is important is changing of consciousness, of transformation, for the good not only of the community but of the people. So as I said, you cannot solve poverty and hunger across Asia. That is too much for you. But do something for the people in your area of responsibility.
All right, we have 5 minutes for the last question. Any one of you who has a burning question in your own heart, this is your chance. Oh, you have.
Don't be scandalized, okay? But I am asking, in fact, I told this to Chito Tapia when she gave a briefing here, and I told it, I first prayed before I asked the question. I said, Father Cardinal Tapia, will the synod be serious and consequent in treating the issue of the equality of men and women in the church? Because you have to realize there is no equality of men and women in the church. Is there? Of course not. Do you have, for me, the church needs logic, not theology. I'm a professor of philosophy, and Logic 101 says there is a syllogism, okay? You have the premise, then you have the syllogism, and you have the conclusion. And according to good logic, the conclusion must come from the premises. Okay, premise 1. Men and women are equal because they are both made to the image and likeness of God. Okay? Nobody will question that. Not the Pope, not all the cardinals. Everybody will say, oh yes. Okay, that is the syllogism, or that is the main premise. What happened to this syllogism? That in the conclusion, men can have full ministry but women cannot. Is that equal? Is that equal? Of course not. What happened then to this syllogism? So if you have students like that, and you are the professor, you give that student F in Logic 101. I'm saying this because, they are telling us to talk. And we should talk, no? But will they really listen and do something about it? I'm so afraid to put my hope in the synod with regard to the equality of men and women because I don't want to be disappointed. No? Please don't be scandalized because that is my real and very honest concern. I am not sure that the synodality and the synod will really be consequent. They might be able to listen. They don't even listen. But are they consequent in solving or in making sure that there is really real equality of men and women in the church? But we have to talk. We have to say it. And I say it. I said it to Cardinal Tapia and I say it wherever I'm asked. No? But as I told you, I have hope for many things. I'm sure there's going to be less clericalism. I hope so. There will be more participation of the laity. I hope. But about the equality of men and women, I'm not sure. I don't know if you are sure. If you are sure, please share your surety with me.
We don't have time for the last question.
I want to advertise something. Only for foreign sisters. Okay, I have an Institute of Women's Studies, and we have a course called Intercultural Course for Women and Society. This is a 1-month course, and it is lived in. It will be in our Mendes Farm. We have a Women Equality Wholeness Farm in Mendes. It's 1 month. And since it is subsidized, if you are going to pay for that, it will be about 65,000 pesos. Because 1 day of board and lodging is already 1,200. No times 30 days, no? But in this case, we only ask some contribution of the participants, which is not more than 5,000 pesos. And it can be even negotiated if there is none. But if you take that course, it will be a course on intercultural course for women, you will become a gender expert. Really, you can give seminars on gender consciousness for both men and women. Oh, by the way, we have a gender consciousness for men, especially for men, but also for women. So I would like to invite you, because it is June 7 to July 6, that is during your vacation. And we have only 20 slots. So, first come, first serve. If you tell me you are interested, you are going to be with other Asian people or Filipino people, and you will take the whole thing about everything about gender consciousness, gender sensitive education, gender spirituality, ecology and gender, etc., etc. So you are going to be really, you are going to be a resource person on a lot of seminars on gender. So it will be from July 7, to June 7 to July 6, and it will be in our farm. There are only 20 slots for that, and your contribution is generally 5,000, but if you do not have 5,000, we can negotiate it. Okay? And I hope you can do it right away. Please tell them, because it's already in June, and as I said, we can attend more than 20. But I really would like to encourage you to take it. Okay, that's it. I will send the paper to you, to Amalie, because I have the, yes. Do you have a question?
Yes.
No more time for questions.
Okay, so I hope think about it, no? That is a worthwhile activity for you during your vacation. Okay? We really did it during vacation so that people who are studying can attend.
At this point, we would like to thank Sister for, first of all, her wonderful sharing during the first part, drawing from her own congregation, its community life, their activities, their responses to different needs, truly synodal. And secondly, Sister, your name should go down in Philippine church history. You are so unique in your participation and involvement as a religious who for the longest time has always been there, when strong in front, when weak on the side, when very weak at the back, pushing others to go ahead. You are an exceptional woman religious. And maybe this is your holiness, to be an outstanding witness of what it becomes to be a woman, religious, courageous, wise, but most of all, whose heart is for others, especially for the poor. Let us give Sister a big round of applause.